So I hope all of you can hear me and can see my whiteboard. So
Yes.
yeah, but there are some few people who are listening to my lecture for the first time, so they might find my method a little different because I teach on a whiteboard and I like a little interaction. Yes. So our main topic, T-cell lymphomas. Yes. So scenario one, 14-year-old male is presented to emergency with breathlessness and he looks very sick and he is vomiting. Chest X-ray, chest X-ray done, and they are suspecting some mediastinal mass. 14-year-old acute breathlessness. He's sick. He's vomiting. On X-ray, they are suspecting a mediastinal mass. So 14-year-old acute breathlessness, mediastinal mass. What are your differential diagnosis? One, two, three, four. Please say your name and your differential diagnosis. Somebody's audio is on. Please mute your background. Yes, please state your name and your differential diagnosis. 14-year-old acute breathlessness presented to the emergency. They're suspecting a mediastinal mass. He's having shortness of breath. There's a large mediastinal mass. Please state your name. Some. Okay, few people are saying Hodgkin's. Few people are saying lymphoblastic lymphoma. Somebody is saying T-cell lymphoma. On mediastinum, you are able to say it is T-cell lymphoma. Okay. Okay, Hodgkin. Any other differential diagnosis apart? Yes. So yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So yes. So most of you are right. The differential diagnosis will be either Hodgkin's. Hodgkin's can present as a mediastinal mass. Yes. Second would be a germ cell tumor. Yes. Looking at the age and the compartment. Yes. Somebody said lymphoblastic lymphoma. Any more differential diagnosis apart from these three? Yes. So Dr. Praveen is right. The fourth differential diagnosis you should think of is thymoma. So everything is important. Age. Yes. Age is important. And acute presentation. Okay. I got my answers. Yeah. So four differential diagnosis: Hodgkin's, germ cell tumor, can be lymphoblastic lymphoma, can be thymoma. Okay. Now TLC was done of the same patient. TLC was 2,40,000. HB was 5 and platelet were 17,000. And on peripheral smear, they were blast. So now diagnosis has become more clear. So what do you think is the diagnosis now? I want the exact diagnosis. Yes. So this was a case of T cell. T cell. Yes. But this is a case of acute T lymphoblastic. Yes. TALL. the case of TALL. So if, yeah, TALL, yes, you are right. So most common presentation in children, young individual, young presentation. And TALL are usually most of the time they're extranodal. They're extranodal. And mediastinal being one of the most commonest site, mediastinum. So how do what is the difference between TALL and T lymphoblastic leukemia is if you get more than 25% blast in bone marrow, then we call it TALL. If it is anything less than 25%, then we call it lymphoblastic leukemia, T cell lymphoblastic leukemia. Okay. So biopsy was done of that mass, and that mass showed blast which had a scant cytoplasm, which was very bluish in color, irregular nuclei, and nucleoli were not appreciated. So a panel of ISC was done, and it was CD7 positive, CD5 positive, and TDT positive. Yes. So we have confirmed the T cell lineage, and we have confirmed it by TDT. So TDT is a primitive marker. Your premature T cells will express TDT. Dr. Ishita, you have joined late and you have muted your yes. So one T cell markers were positive, and we confirmed that it is premature by TDT. You can also do CD34. CD34 will also be positive, but most specific profile will be TDT positive, CD5 positive, or CD7 positive if you are suspecting a TALL. Request everyone to mute your background noise. I cannot go on muting here. Should I take class or keep on muting your? Yeah. So you have to document this premature markers to call it your TALL or your lymphoblastic leukemia, T cell lymphoblastic leukemia. Okay. So second scenario, our patient is a model. She has undergone some cosmetic surgery few years back. Now she has axillary lymph nodes. She has undergone a cosmetic surgery for breast. Now she has huge axillary lymph nodes. So what are you thinking? This second scenario. She is a mod. Somebody saying CA breast. No, we are discussing lymphoma class here. So don't think anything outside your. Yes. Okay. Okay. I got my answer. Yeah. Yes. Dr. Hasrat.
Yes.
I'm hearing some background noise. I have to always go back and mute your. Yeah. So we were on the second scenario. She's a model by profession. She underwent a cosmetic surgery that was for breast implants. Now she has developed an axillary lymph node. निश्चित सर फोन कर रहा है, disturbing me. Send him the link यार. Yes. So this was the second scenario. She was model. She underwent a breast implant. Now she has developed axillary lymph nodes. So yes, the cause for axillary lymph nodes could be silicon. Yes. So we cannot just jump onto your ALK negative anaplastic large cell lymphoma. So we cannot just jump onto your ALK negative. So those lymphadenopathy can be due to your silicon which has gone to your draining the lymph nodes, or yes, but one of the possibility is implant associated ALK negative anaplastic large cell lymphoma. Yes. Third scenario. So he is a 65-year-old man. He has joint pain, rheumatoid arthritis like picture. His peripheral smear has lymphocyte increase and also showing plasma cells. He is having peripheral blood plasma cytosis. Bone marrow was advised. Bone marrow also revealed increase in plasma cells. And his serum was sent for electrophoresis. Yes. A 65-year-old man, he is having joint pain, clinical features of rheumatoid arthritis, like he is having plasma cell in his peripheral smear, and bone marrow was done. Bone marrow revealed plasma cells in bone marrow increased, and his serum was sent for electrophoresis. So what T cell lymphoma you're thinking of? I'm just giving you various scenarios how the T cell lymphomas can present. Yes. So please say your name and say your name and say the diagnosis so that everyone can hear. I just cannot go on reading messages. Please state your name and your differential diagnosis or diagnosis you're thinking of. 65-year-old male, he is having joint pain, rheumatoid arthritis like picture, peripheral smear shows plasma cells, bone marrow plasma cells. Electrophoresis sent. So which T cell lymphoma are you thinking of? Now you can unmute your microphone and talk to me. Dr. Hemanti.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what T cell lymphoma are you thinking of?
NK cell, sir.
NK cell. Okay. What made you think it is NK cell? Anyone else? Please state your name and please talk to me. What differential diagnosis you're thinking of?
So I'm thinking of adult T cell lymphoma leukemia.
Adult T cell lymphoma leukemia. You means you say NOS? No special type? Anyone else? Please state your name and diagnosis. 65-year-old man, he is having fatigue, joint pain, rheumatoid arthritis like picture, plasma cell, serum electrophoresis sent. Lymphoplasmacytic. Our chapter is T cell lymphoma, yaar. Huh? I'm giving you a big hint. T cell lymphoma. You are saying lymphoplasmacytic.
Sir, could it be angioimmunoblastic lymphoma?
Yes. Who was it?
Dr. Hasrat.
Yes, Dr. Asaf, you are right. This could be a case of angioimmunoblastic T cell lymphoma. Why? Why did you think on that line?
Because he is presented, it's known to be occurring in elderly patients and having a previous history of rheumatoid arthritis. Maybe he
Okay.
was on immunosuppressive drugs.
Okay.
Um,
Your diagnosis is right, but your explanation not accepted.
hmm.
Anyone else wants to help Dr. Hasrat? Okay. So since you are all stuck with the third case, we'll start with the third case. Okay. So, yes. You can mute your microphones. So we'll start with angioimmunoblastic T cell lymphoma. So what is the cell of origin? I can hear some background noise. Request everyone to mute your microphones. Yeah. So what is the cell of origin? So cell of origin is follicular T helper cell. Follicular T helper cell. Okay. So that is a cell of origin for angioimmunoblastic T cell lymphoma. Cell of origin, very, very important. Follicular T helper cell. So there is a profile. There is a profile for calling it a cell as follicular T helper cell. That profile has many markers. Yes. So what are the markers? CD10, BCL6, CXCL13, CXCR5, PD1, CD200. So these are some of the profile. Okay, if you get any of these two markers positive, any two markers positive for T helper cell profile, then probably it's a case of, I'll tell you how to diagnose, but at least two should be positive, not one, not any one, at least two. Because if you get only one, then we might be thinking of T cell lymphoma, no special type. So minimum criteria is two. Any two of T helper cell profile should be positive. So what does this T helper cell does? T helper cell is a master cell. So it will secrete some cytokines. So it will secrete VEGF. It will secrete angiopoietin, due to which you will get your vascular proliferation. Your high endothelial venules, HEV, classically described in your angioimmunoblastic leukemia. So that is because of angiopoietin and VEGF. All is coming from T helper cell. It will secrete CXCL13, which will go and stimulate your B cells. And B cells will start secreting immunoglobulins and will become plasma cells. So that is where from these plasma cells are coming from, because T helper cell is secreting CXCL13, which is going and activating B cells and going and stimulating the B cells to secrete immunoglobulins, and they are transforming into plasma cells. CD40 will go and stimulate your mast cells. IL-5, eosinophils. So classically described, your angioimmunoblastic will be full house. You name the cell and it will be there. Eosinophils there, plasma cells there, B lymphocytes there, mast cells there, T cells there. Everything is there, because this T helper cell is a master cell. He is secreting so many cytokines which are doing so many work for him, so much work for him. So everything is coming from here. Your high endothelial venules are coming from here, and because of angiopoietin, mast cells are coming due to CD40. B cells and plasma cells are coming due to CXCL13. IL-5 is going and stimulating eosinophils. Okay, so this is the basis. That is why we are getting a full house. We are getting a full house. And clinically, these patients will be elderly, 65-year-old, 70-year-old. They'll have arthralgias. They have increased plasma cells. They can have increased plasma cells in bone marrow also. If you do serum electrophoresis, it will be polyclonal immunoglobulins. There will be no M band, because we know that T helper cells are stimulating your B cells, and those are transforming into plasma cells. So they are not monoclonal, they're a polyclonal band on serum electrophoresis. Yes. And dendritic cells, of course, dendritic cells. So T helper cells will also stimulate dendritic cells. Dendritic cells are very important for this lymphoma. So again, your CD21 will come positive for dendritic cells. So coming to the morphology. So morphology, as I told, full house. Full house. You get lymphocyte, you get plasma cells, you get eosinophils, you can mast cells, you can dendritic cells. And of course, your blasts. Blasts are very few to find. Very few. And they are near your high endothelial venules. They are near your high endothelial venules. This high endothelial venules, you can highlight it by your endothelial markers. And these blasts will be near your high endothelial venules. So your classical book description, your high endothelial venules, in which walls are PAS positive. Walls are PAS positive of this HEV. And dendritic cells will be near, and blast cells will be also near this. Your blast cell also will be near this. These are dendritic cells. And they have also associated with Epstein-Barr virus. They're also associated with Epstein-Barr virus. यहाँ से जाओ. And your tumor cells must show at least two markers. Your tumor cells must show at least two markers for your T follicular helper cell profile. So CD10, again BCL6. I forgot to mention ICOS. Yes, PD1. At least two markers must be expressed. At least two markers. CXCL15, CXCR5. So your tumor cells will be positive for at least two markers. And coming to the genetic part, your molecular, they usually show TET mutation. Yes. So coming to second one, anaplastic. Anaplastic. So anaplastic ALK, anaplastic T cell lymphoma. Okay. So they can be ALK positive. They can be ALK negative. Again, ALK positive can be systemic. ALK negative can be systemic. And third will be your skin, confined to skin. Again, ALK negative. Yes. So ALK mutation 25. So it will be Q23 and it will be Q35. So this is 2, this is 5. This is your ALK and this is your nucleophosphine, NPM1. So your ALK ISC will be positive in nucleus, in also in nucleolar, also in cytoplasm. If it is 2,5, but there are certain other translocations also, like 1. Like translocation for chromosome number 1 and 2. Yes, T1 and 2. So this ALK can cause many types of translocation. So if the patient is having 1, 2 translocation, and if you are using ALK antibody, the pattern will be different. It will be cytoplasm and membrane, as opposed to your 2,5, where it was nuclear and nucleolar. So even that can help you. Like on antibody itself, you can predict what type of mutation. If you are seeing nuclear, nucleolar, and cytoplasm, then probably it's a classical 2,5 mutation. If you are not seeing nuclear staining, but if you are seeing cytoplasmic and membrane staining, then probably the translocation is different from the patient in that patient. Okay. So most common is 2,5, but second most common is 1 and 2. So the first chromosome will be TPM3. Dr. Praveen, Dr. Rayan, your background noise is on. There's no fun of taking lecture. You are busy somewhere else. The 42 participants are getting disturbed because of you. Even I am getting disturbed. So we were discussing ALK positive anaplastic large cell lymphoma, T cell lymphoma. So classical morphology of the cells. We are discussing ALK positive. See, anaplastic large cell T cell lymphoma can be ALK positive or can be ALK negative. Yes. So first we are discussing ALK positive. Translocation is 2,5, as I discussed, and we are using ALK antibody. But on morphology, there'll be sheets. There'll be sheets of large neoplastic cells, and classically your books will describe your, either it will be horseshoe, embryo, or donut, whatever you want to call it. This is the shape of the nucleus. Yes, so classical embryo shape, large cells, abundant cytoplasm, and embryo shaped nucleus. So this is classical. Okay, but you can get horseshoe shape, you can get donut shape, but embryo shape is classical for anaplastic large T cell lymphoma. And usually there'll be sheets. So sometimes if you are not careful and the lymph node is showing you nodular architecture and these cells are just lying in your sinusoids. These cells are lying in sinusoids. Large cells lying near sinusoids. Then you might mistake it for a metastatic lymph node. You might mistake it for metastatic lymph node. Yes, so be very careful. And there are certain variants described for anaplastic large cell lymphoma. First one is small cell variant. Second is lymphohistiocytic variant. So again, morphologically it's very difficult. Your small cell will appear. So if it's a child, they will look like small round cells. But if you look carefully, again the nuclear irregularity you might be able to find. Nuclear irregularity might be able to see. You might be able to see. Lymphohistiocytic, again problem. You might diagnose it as dendritic cell sarcoma if you are not careful. So ALCL has varied morphology. You have to be very, very careful. You have to take into consideration the age, the presentation. So nucleus characteristic, I described their embryo shape, moderate amount of cytoplasm, high Ki index. Okay. So classically ALK positive and ALK negative. ALCL. So ALK positive, usually young individuals, up to third decade. Older individuals, 5th to 6th decade. So age of presentation is also different. And why am I drawing your attention to ALK negative? See, ALK can be negative, but CD30, yes. So CD30 will help you to decide whether it is ALCL or not. So CD30 will be both your membranous positivity and Golgi body accentuation. This is very important. EMA positive. They are EMA positive. CD4 positive. So this triad is very important. CD4 positive, EMA positive, CD30 positive. But in 30, you have to see membranous plus Golgi body accentuation. If it is ALK negative, see, if ALK is positive, you are pretty confident that, okay, this might be a case of ALCL. But if ALK is negative, you have to depend upon CD30. So CD30 will be membranous and Golgi body accentuation. And EMA positive. These cells are EMA positive. So I told, if you are confused with your metastatic carcinoma, and if you are relying only on EMA, then you will be in trouble. So you have to, if you are suspecting a metastatic, you have to use a CK also. So CK will be negative in case of ALCL. If you are suspecting a metastatic breast or any other site, and your differential diagnosis is your ALCL, then you have to put both CK and EMA. So these are EMA positive, CD4 positive because they are T cell, CD30 positive. Yes. And finally, ALK antibodies. ALK antibodies, which can also help you to differentiate the type of mutation as I just described. So it can be 2-5. It can be 1-2. There are so many other, but these two are the most common. So this 2 is your ALK gene, and this is your NPM. Yes. And this is your TPM3. These at least 2 mutations you have to remember. 2-5 and 1-2. Most common. 80% of cases will be 2-5. 13% of cases will be 1-2. So you have to consider the age, whether the ALK is positive or not. Even if ALK is not positive, you have to put CD30, EMA, and CD4 if your differential diagnosis is anaplastic large cell lymphoma. Yes. And mind you, they can show you pleomorphic giant cells. They can even give signet ring appearance. So their morphology is very deceiving. But remember, suspect ALK positive if it is first 3 decades of life. Yes. So just to give you one scenario again, just to highlight the variants of this anaplastic large cell lymphoma. I told you there are two variants: small cell lymphohistiocytic variant. So there is a case, 14-year-old male. These are all documented cases. These are not my made-up cases. These are all case reports which are already published. Okay, so which I described earlier also. So this is 14-year-old male. He's having a mass in his arm, and he's also having axillary lymphadenopathy. Axillary lymphadenopathy. This mass is in muscular plane. This mass is in muscular plane. Okay, so biopsy was taken. Biopsy is taken from this, and they are showing round blue cells. Round blue cells. Mind you, this is a 14-year-old male. He's having a mass in his arm. The mass is in the muscular plane. Muscular plane. He's having axillary lymphadenopathy. On biopsy, you are seeing round blue cells. So what are your differential diagnoses in this case? "14-year-old male having a mass in his arm, muscular plane, axillary lymph node positive, and he's showing you some round blue cells. Please state your name and your DD. No one? Yes. So Dr. Tanu Jain has expressed it might be a case of Ewing's. She is thinking on the right line. Because young age, PNET, Ewing, small blue round cell. Yes. What are the other differential diagnoses?
Sir, is a Sézary syndrome.
Sézary. I'm saying you they are small to medium size round blue cells. Why are you thinking of Sézary? And look at the age, 14-year-old. He's having mass in his arm, which is in muscular plane. He's having a tumor. What is the definition of Sézary syndrome? What is the definition of Sézary syndrome? So it is generalized lymphadenopathy, erythroderma, plus your classical cells, which have cerebriform nucleus, which can be either in your peripheral blood or your bone marrow. These Sézary cells have to be more than 1000 microliter. The quantification, CD4 to CD8 ratio is 10:1. So these are the components of Sézary syndrome. Usually adult patient, generalized lymphadenopathy, erythroderma, and your cerebriform, the nucleus is cerebriform. More than 1000. CD4 to CD8 ratio 10:1. So this is not a case of Sézary syndrome. So 14-year-old, mass in the arm, small blue round cell, small to medium round blue cells. Yes. No, lymphoblastic lymphoma, I told most common presentation mediastinum or supradiaphragmatic lymph nodes. Why are you thinking of lymphoblastic lymphoma here? अरे यार, nobody is. Won't you think of RMS in this age? Rhabdomyosarcoma. Nobody is telling me RMS, differential diagnosis. No. See, this is not the way I teach. You have to say your name and you have to talk to me. I cannot be reading all your chats. Either I can be teaching or I can be reading your chats. You have to state your name and you have to talk to me. So 1DD is accepted. Ewings. PNET. Yes, you are thinking on the right lines. RMS. What other differential diagnosis?
Dr. Akshay, synovial.
No, we are looking at small blue round cells.
Achha.
Okay, so Ewings. Yes, Ewings. You put CD99. For RMS, you will do MyoD. So everything is negative. CD99 is negative. MyoD is negative. So by mistake, they put EMA. EMA turned out to be positive. Then they put CD30. So CD30 turned out to be positive. So it was a case of small cell variant of ALCL. So that's why I am just giving you one scenario that ALCL can trouble you anywhere. But if you are in young patient, even if they are small blue round cell, ALCL has to be in your DD. That's the whole point of telling you this case scenario. In young patients, small blue round cell, ALCL can present morphologically as small cell variant, and they'll be appearing very blue. And retrospectively, when they went back, they were saying, okay, yeah, this looks like your convoluted nucleus and all that. So I'm just telling you that include ALCL in your diagnosis if you are seeing a young patient with small blue round cell morphology. That was the whole purpose. And mind you, CD99 will not help you. CD99 can come positive in ALCL also. 75% of small cell variant of ALCL also are CD99 positive. Yes. So we were discussing ALCL. So it can be systemic, which is ALK positive, usually seen in children or third decade of life. ALK negative, systemic, usually elderly population. Yes. So third type is your cutaneous ALCL. Cutaneous ALCL. And mind you, before diagnosing your cutaneous ALCL, you have to rule out that this is not a secondary involvement. This is not a secondary involvement. Should not be a secondary involvement of your ALCL. It should be primarily confined to the skin, because cutaneous ALCL has a very good prognosis. It's a self-limiting disease. Cutaneous ALCL has a very good prognosis, but if it is secondarily involved by your ALCL, which is systemic, then it has a bad prognosis. So you have to take clinical history. You have to talk to your clinician whether this is a primary site or not. Then only you can diagnose it as cutaneous ALCL. And again, CD30 positive, membranous positivity, Golgi body accentuation. EMA positive, CD4 positive. They are usually ALK negative, cutaneous ALCL. Usually if your systemic ALCL and if it is ALK negative and if it is CD30 positive and you diagnose it as ALK negative ALCL systemic, yes. So it is EMA positive, CD4 positive, CD30 positive, ALK negative. Yes, this scenario. So in this scenario, they have now described another mutation, DSP22. DSP22. They are even doing P63 for these cases. So it was ALK negative, DSP22 negative, and P63 negative. If that case, so it is now described as triple negative ALCL. I'll tell you in detail. Yeah. So if it is ALK negative, they do DSP22. If DSP22 mutation is positive, I'm telling you it's a diagnosed case of ALCL. Okay, ALK negative, DSP22 positive, then it has a good prognosis. It has a good prognosis. ALK negative, DSP22 positive, ALCL has a good prognosis. That is why they are doing now routinely DSP22. Second scenario, ALK negative, P63 positive, P63 mutation positive, very bad prognosis, 17% 5-year survival. 17% if P63 is positive in ALK negative. And if all the three are negative, DSP22 negative, ALK negative, and P63 negative, this is triple negative ALCL. Triple negative ALCL. This prognosis is somewhere in between DSP22 and P63. So DSP22 good prognosis, P63 bad prognosis, and if it is triple negative, the prognosis is somewhere in between. Somewhere in between. So like triple negative breast carcinoma, now they have described it as triple negative ALCL. So along with ALK, you have to do DSP22, P63. If only ALK negative, DSP222 positive, then it has a good prognosis. If ALK negative, P6. Dr. Nela, somebody is saying chai banao. What kind of serious? Okay. So if it is triple negative, prognosis is somewhere in between your DSP and P63. So prognostically, these markers are now routinely done for ALK negative. Mind you, this is a diagnosed case, CD30 positive, membranous positivity, Golgi body accentuation, EMA positive, CD4. So now you have to go further. You have to go further and do DSP22 and P63 mutation and further classify it. Yes. So just to summarize, ALCL can be systemic ALK positive. If ALK positive, then it is easy. But remember, ALK can be seen in your other tumors also. So again, your morphology. First, you have to think of morphology. Don't make it, sir, this is a case of IMT, but I'm thinking of ALCL. So it is not like that. First, morphology. Morphology, they are large cells, embryo cells, irregular cells, horseshoe cells, whatever you want to describe them. So if they are ALK positive, usually third decade. And if it is ALK negative, then you have to do CD30. Systemic. Mind you, this is systemic category. Systemic category. Elderly population. Yes. And third variety is your primary cutaneous ALCL, which is again ALK negative, CD30 positive. But you have to document clinically or by history that this is the primary site. Then only you call it cutaneous ALCL because it has a good prognosis. Okay. So we have discussed something about angioimmunoblastic T-cell lymphoma. We have discussed something about ALCL and also T lymphoblastic leukemia. T lymphoblastic lymphoma, yes. So angioimmunoblastic, full house. And T helper cell profile. You have to get this in your mind. T helper cell profile. Yes. So you have to remember at least 6 markers for T helper cell profile. 6 markers. CD10, BCL6, CXCL13, CXCR5, PD1, and ICOS. These 6 at least you have to remember. And ICOS and PD1 are quite specific. Quite specific. ICOS and PD1. So at least 2 markers of CD helper cell profile have to be positive in your tumor cells. Okay. Yeah. So just for completion sake, we will discuss your mycosis fungoides. Mycosis fungoides. Yeah. So CD2 plus, CD3 plus, 4 plus, 5 plus, all plus, but CD7 negative. CD7 negative. Cutaneous. Mycosis fungoides is cutaneous. Epidermotropism. Epidermotropism. These tumor cells, they love epidermis. They migrate towards epidermis. So clinically described first papular stage, then plaque stage. First will be papule, then plaque, then nodule. Papule, then plaque, then nodule. So epidermotropism, you take a punch biopsy and you are seeing if this is your basal layer. So epidermotropism, classically described as string of pearls. String of pearls. CD3 plus. They are lining your basal membrane. String of pearl appearance. And if it is a plaque stage, then you will get Portrier microabscess, which are nothing but your neoplastic cells which have gone and migrated in your epidermis. So this is Portrier microabscess. First, initially string of pearls, epidermotropism. CD3 plus, then they migrate inside Portrier microabscess. And in your nodule stage, your epidermotropism might be lost. In nodule stage, your epidermotropism might be lost. So be very careful. Only initially your papule or plaque stage, only epidermotropism. So classically nucleus is described as cerebriform. Cerebriform. If you look at the high power these T cells, then it is classically described as cerebriform. Cerebriform nucleus in mycosis fungoides. All CD markers for T cells are positive except CD7. So initially string of pearls, then Portrier microabscesses, and last stage nodule epidermotropism is lost. Then continuation of the same is Sézary syndrome. Sézary syndrome. So you'll start getting lymphadenopathy. You will get erythroderma. Patient will have redness of skin, and finally you'll get Sézary cells in peripheral blood also. Peripheral blood also. But at least to call it Sézary syndrome, there is a cutoff for WHO. The Sézary cells should be more than 1000 microliter. More than 1000. And your CD4 to CD8 ratio 10:1 on these cells. 10:1. Then only you will call it Sézary syndrome. And just for see, I cannot teach you everything in one lecture. So your ALK negative cutaneous ALCL, ALK negative cutaneous ALCL, which are CD30 positive. Okay, so these ALK negative CD30 positive ALCL, they usually are related to your lymphomatoid papillomatosis. Lymphomatoid papillomatosis. Yes, they are related. So you have to read everything in detail about this entity, lymphomatoid papillomatosis. Yes. So I have discussed something about T cell lymphomas. Now I am going to my second topic, Hodgkin's. Yes. So what is the cell of origin for Hodgkin's, Dr. Neeti? Cell of origin. No, this is not the way I teach. I'm asking someone specific.
Sir, post-germinal B cells.
Yes, yes, you are right. So they are B cells. So Hodgkin's lymphoma, B cells. Yes, you are right. So RS cells, they are the main body of this, main body. Reed Sternberg in 1898 and Dr. Reed in 1902 independently described. That's why they gave it name as Reed Sternberg cells. Reed Sternberg cells. So classically they are 20 to 60 micron. 20 to 60. And they should have at least two nucleus, binucleate, at least binucleate. If they are not binucleate, then they are Hodgkin cells. So by definition, they should have two nucleus, and the nucleoli should occupy at least 50% of the nucleus. At least 50%. The nucleoli should be at least 50% of the nuclear size, and moderate to abundant cytoplasm. So this is the definition. Large cell, giant cell, 20 to 60 micron, binucleate at least. They can be multinucleated, accepted. And prominent nucleoli, which nucleoli are occupying at least 50% of the nuclear area. So this is by definition RS cells. If you are seeing only one nucleus, then it is Hodgkin cell, it is not RS cell. So they are the main body, but you have to find this RS cell in proper milieu, in proper background. So RS cell plus background is equal to Hodgkin's. So this is the definition. RS cell with the proper background is Hodgkin's. Because RS like cells are seen in many conditions, many conditions. But RS cells in proper milieu is Hodgkin's. So coming to the first type. So this is very important bifurcation, nodular lymphocyte predominant versus the others. Only one thing is common between nodular lymphocyte predominant Hodgkin's and other Hodgkin's types. Only one thing. If anyone answers this, I am going to give you a prize. Only one thing in the whole world is common in these two.
EBV positivity.
EBV positivity, nah, very less in LSPSL. This is not the answer. So answer is nothing is common except the RS cells are very few. So this is a googly. RS cells are hard to find. This is only one common feature in these two. Except they are poles apart. They are poles apart. So coming to first NLPHL. Nodular lymphocyte predominant Hodgkin's lymphoma. So architecture, at least vague nodular architecture has to be documented if you are thinking on lines of NLPHL. Vague nodular architecture on low power. Nodular architecture. Because the definition itself says nodular. So don't start thinking NLPHL anywhere you wish of. No. First low power nodular architecture, at least vague nodular architecture. This is very, very important. So classical variant of RS cell which is described in this is popcorn. Popcorn. Popcorn is actually more of centroblastic appearance. So it is polylobulated. And like centroblastic, it can have multiple peripheral small nucleoli. So it's more of a centroblastic than your classical RS. Polylobulated peripheral small nucleoli, like your centroblast. So 15 negative, CD30 negative. And as I first asked that what is the cell of origin? Cell of origin is B cell, yes, accepted. So what are the markers which will tell you that this is of B cell origin? This is of B cell origin in Hodgkin's. What are the markers which are commonly used which will tell you that this is B cell origin in Hodgkin's?
CD20, OCT2 and BOB1.
Okay.
CD15.
Yes.
PAX5.
So some
and
people who have attended my last lecture on
CD79A.
yes. So there are birthmarks. 3 markers are birthmarks. If you want to tell it is a B cell lineage, then at least one of these birthmark has to be positive. Birthmark CD79A, PAX5 and CD19. These are the birthmark. If any of it is positive, then probably we are looking at B cell origin. So PAX5 is positive in both nodular lymphocyte predominant and your classical or any other variant because they are of B cell origin. So PAX5 positive. But speciality of your nodular lymphocyte predominant Hodgkin's lymphoma that they also express some transcription factors which are of B cells. They are transcription factors. So OCT2 and BOB1 and PU.1. So they are your B cell transcription factors which are additionally expressed in your nodular lymphocyte predominant Hodgkin's lymphoma. Additionally expressed. PAX5 is common, but these OCT2, BOB1 and PU.1 are nuclear transcription factors expressed in nodular lymphocyte predominant. Okay. So CD20, yes. CD20 positive. But along with that, OCT2, BOB1 and PU.1. So this is the profile of your popcorn cells. Your large cell, neoplastic cells, hard to find. Low power is showing you nodular architecture, and this is the profile. This is the address of your popcorn cells. Now coming to background. First we have confirmed this is RS cell. Now we have to confirm the proper background, proper milieu. So milieu, coming to the background. So background shows you rosettes. Dr. Hemanti, what is these rosettes in nodular lymphocyte predominant?
Cellular aggregates around the T cells.
Come again.
The cellular aggregates around the T cells.
Around the
T cells, sir.
T cells.
The rosettes are primarily T cells. The T cells form the rosettes. This is Dr. Purvi here.
They form the rosettes where?
B cells, around the B cells.
RS cells, they form the rosette, sir.
Okay.
T cells form rosettes
Yes.
around B cells. A flower-like pattern.
Yes. So this is your popcorn cell and this is your T cells. This is acceptable. Okay. But the profile is very important. They are CD4 plus, CD57 plus, and PD1 plus. This profile has to be there. 4 plus 57 plus PD1 plus. They cannot be just CD3 or CD7 or whatever you like T cell marker. No, this profile is fixed. So 3 markers CD4, 57, PD1. If you document all these 3 surrounding the T cells, then we are sure that we are in proper milieu, or this is proper background. This is proper background for NLPHL. And if you are still not sure, okay, so we have confirmed RSL, we have confirmed rosettes. So we can use dendritic cell markers, CD21, here and there positive. Yes. So coming to the, just briefly about the clinical course. Indolent, usually single lymph node, cervical, axillary, single lymph node, indolent behavior. They respond to therapy, but they may relapse. But they are very indolent course. They usually do not involve your abdominal, mediastinal, or bone marrow. They do not spread like that. They are very superficial. They are very indolent. They have a good prognosis. So it's very important to diagnose these. And to differentiate it from your other Hodgkin's or your T cell histiocyte rich B cell lymphoma. I will tell you how to differentiate. Yes. So RSL, you have confirmed CD20 positive, OCT1, BOB2, PU, and we are seeing rosettes. We are also seeing dendritic cells here and there. So we are thinking, and it's a single cervical lymph node. So we are thinking on the lines of nodular lymphocyte predominant Hodgkin's lymphoma. So it is very important to differentiate this entity from your T cell histiocyte rich B cell lymphoma. There are many similarities. Again, your neoplastic cells will be CD20 positive, which are again hard to find. You get T cell background, yes, 3 plus. Okay. So here also similarities, 20 plus, get T cell background. It is very, very important to differentiate these two entities because this has a very indolent behavior and this is bad. This is bad. So certain soft clues can help you differentiate. In practice also, it is very, very difficult and important to differentiate these two entities. So first is nodular architecture. If you are seeing nodular architecture, then it gives you hint that probably this is the case of NLPHL. Second thing, nodular. Yes, nodular is very important. Second thing, your nuclear transcription factor, OCT2-BOB1, expressed more in NLPHL. BCL2 expressed negative or less in NLPHL versus your T cell histiocyte rich. BCL2 can be expressed but usually less expressed. And most important, your profile of your background cells. They can be CD3 plus in your T cell rich histiocyte B cell lymphoma, but there will be 4 plus, 57 plus, and PDL1 plus. And of course, there will be rosetting. So if you put only one CD marker, you might end up in trouble, because blast again will be CD20 positive. And then diffuse architecture. If you start seeing diffuse architecture without nodularity, loss of nodularity, then it indicates more of your T cell histiocyte rich than NLPHL. If you start seeing diffuse architecture. And of course your histiocytes. Histiocyte CD68. CD68 will highlight your histiocytes in your T cell histiocyte rich B cell lymphoma. CD68. And here we can use dendritic markers, CD21. Dendritic cells are still there. So important to differentiate, but very hard, because now they have documented an intermediate category, which has features of both NLPHL and your T cell rich histiocyte rich B cell lymphoma. This is an intermediate category having features of both. So some areas are showing you nodular architecture and markers of NLPHL, and diffuse areas are showing you markers of T cell rich histiocyte rich B cell lymphoma. So this is a gray area. This is a gray area. But yes, you can differentiate what differences I told you. Nodular architecture is there. Background T cells are showing all the three markers. Dendritic cells are still preserved. BCL2 is less expressed. Then all this goes in favor of NLPHL. Yes, but this is the gray area. Very, very, very difficult to differentiate. And as Dr. Nishit will agree, if you have done a core biopsy, which will not tell you any architecture, you are not able to appreciate whether it is nodular or whether it is diffuse, it is only a small core biopsy, then only God can differentiate. Only God can differentiate whether it is nodular lymphocyte predominant or T cell histiocyte rich B cell lymphoma. Very, very difficult on core biopsy. Yes. Now coming to the easy part, classical Hodgkin's lymphoma. So classical Hodgkin's lymphoma, first, nodular sclerosis. So nodular sclerosis has three phases: cellular phase, nodular phase, burnt out phase. Cellular phase will not show you, or will show you very less sclerosis. Very less sclerosis in cellular phase, because it is the starting phase. The sclerosis will start from your capsule region. So cellular phase has very less of sclerosis. So don't say, sir, this is not showing any nodular sclerotic architecture. So this is not a case of nodular sclerosis Hodgkin's lymphoma. No, it can be a cellular phase. So be very careful. And burnt out phase, everything is replaced. Very hard to find RS cells. The lymph node is burnt out, is completely sclerosed. So it is a spectrum from cellular phase to a burnt out phase in your nodular sclerosis. So lacunar cells. So again, RRS cell, and it is showing you some retraction of your cytoplasm. This is looking like empty. There are some certain strings like thing here, but the cytoplasm is retracted. So classically described as lacunar cells. (15 positive, 30 positive, PAX 5 positive. Yes. Another variant, syncytial variant of classical Hodgkin's, where you will see only sheets of RS cells. Only sheets of RS cells. So it becomes a problem. It becomes a problem. You will start thinking whether I am looking at the case of carcinoma, whether I am looking at the case of ALCL. So remember, syncytial variant documented, only sheets of RS cells. So you have to put a panel for syncytial variant. And of course, if they are mononuclear, then it is Hodgkin cell. But same macronucleoli can be appreciated. Cherry red macronucleoli, even in Hodgkin cell, but they are uninuclear. So 70 to 80% of your classical Hodgkin will be nodular sclerosis. 70 to 80%. So bulk of your classical Hodgkin's will be your nodular sclerosis. So second one, mixed cellularity, lymphocyte rich and lymphocyte depleted. So mixed cellularity, everyone knows you can get eosinophils, you can get mature B cells, you can get plasma cells, and of course RS cells. RS cells are hard to find. Hard to find. You might label the case as reactive, but you have to search. You have to search. And another feature of classical Hodgkin's, another feature is granuloma. Granuloma formation. So you will even get Langhans cells, histiocyte granulomas. You do a FNAC, label the patient as TB, and you do a lymph node biopsy. You are seeing only histiocyte granulomas and Langhans cells, but no necrosis, no caseous necrosis. Then you have to hunt for RS cells, because this histiocytic granulomas are known to happen in your Hodgkin's. They are known to happen. So you will burn your fingers, labeling it as a case of tuberculosis or granulomatous inflammation. Yeah, I'm just checking water break. Yes. So mixed cellularity, diffuse growth, eosinophils, T cells, epithelioid histiocytes, and RS cells difficult to find. So in mixed cellularity classical Hodgkin's lymphoma, there is one variant called as interfollicular variant. Interfollicular variant. So these RS cells will be outside your reactive follicles. You will see reactive follicles, but these RS cells are outside your reactive follicles. So this is interfollicular variant. So differential diagnosis for interfollicular variant will be your, am I looking at a case of follicular hyperplasia, or am I looking at a case of Castleman disease? So remember this variant, this is interfollicular variant. Very hard to diagnose. Mixed cellularity, classical Hodgkin's, interfollicular variant. You can miss it. And as I told, epithelioid cell reaction can be seen, granulomata formation can be seen. So don't mistake it for some TB process or any granulomatous reaction. So coming to your third subtype of classical, lymphocyte depleted. Lymphocyte depleted. They are very, very rare. Only 1% of your total classical Hodgkin's cases. Very, very rare. And they have the worst prognosis. Worst prognosis. So very less of B cells and abundance of RS cells. Lymphocyte depleted has abundance of RS cells. Abundance of RS cells. They can have fibrotic reaction. Yes. But they are usually diagnosed as stage 3 or stage 4. They have very bad prognosis. So differential diagnosis for lymphocyte depleted would be if a patient is of HIV and he's having a lymph node in depletion phase. Lymph node in depletion phase. So that can mimic like your lymphocyte depleted classical Hodgkin's. So differential diagnosis will be HIV lymphadenopathy in depletion phase. So last subtype, lymphocyte rich. So this will mimic like, this can mimic morphologically as again your NLPHL. Because lot of background B cells, but again, if you want to differentiate, so CD20 and this will be again your RSLBs 15 positive and 30 positive. So morphologically it can mimic. It can mimic. Okay. So just to mention CD30. Nowadays any T cell lymphoma which is 30 positive can be offered a targeted therapy. Can be offered a targeted therapy which is brentuximab. Yes. Rituximab, everyone is aware if the lymphoma is 20 positive, then it is offered rituximab. But CD30 also now has a targeted therapy. CD30 has a targeted therapy, and nowadays they are targeting your programmed death cell receptor 1 also. So even targeted therapy is being tried for programmed death cell receptor 1. Okay. So just for completion's sake, T cell lymphoma NOS, no special type. This is a waste basket diagnosis. Waste basket. If you are not able to put it in the anti category, if your T helper cell profile only one marker is positive, okay, and so you are not able to define your T cell lymphoma in any other category. So we can put it into T cell lymphoma, no special type. So you have to rule out all other lymphomas to put it into T cell lymphoma, no special type. only one name you should remember in this is Lennart lymphoma. Lennart lymphoma. It can show you your sheets of T cells. Yeah. So just read about this special variant Lennart lymphoma. Otherwise, it's a waste basket diagnosis. T cell lymphoma, no special type. You are not able to put it into ALCL. You are not able to put it into angioimmunoblastic. You are not able to put it into your lymphoblastic lymphoma. Then we will think of NOS, usually seen in adults. But they will express one or two markers of your T cells. So they can be either CD3 plus or 4 plus, but not fitting into any profile. So that is NOS. Yeah. So we have discussed about lympho. Yes, T. We have discussed about TALL. We have discussed about angioimmunoblastic. We have discussed about ALCL. We have discussed about mycosis fungoides, and we have discussed about Hodgkin's. Yes. So this CD30, yeah. So this always remember this profile here. And Golgi body accentuation, Golgi body. So if you see in your book, if it is blue color, then this will be blue and it will be blue like this. This is Golgi body accentuation. This is very, very classical if you are dealing with ALCL. So CD30. And ALK, yes. If ALK is, then you have to use ALK antibody. Yeah, so I'm done with my class. Already I think 1.5 hours. So any comments? Any doubts? I hope I made some sense. You can ask me any doubts, any basic doubts, anything. Yeah, Dr. Hemanti, your voice is breaking. Please tell me. Yeah, tell me. You can write down your. I can't still hear you. Please write down your doubt. Your voice is breaking. So Dr. Benny, Dr. Neeti, any doubts? Any basic doubts? Now is the time.
Dr. Akshay,
Yes.
actually, I have discussed with you, but still I want your comment that like in bone marrows, many times we do the bone marrow for the provisional diagnosis of lymphoma, and when the bone marrow is done for the aspirate comes out to be hemodiluted or no particles, and just the biopsy is there to comment upon, and the same sample is processed for the flow cytometry and other markers, and then the final diagnosis based on the bone marrow biopsy and the ISC. So how to can you comment upon such scenario? Like,
No, that may be answered by the people who are doing flow cytometry. I'm not doing flow cytometry. But definitely, yes, cellularity has to be there. There should be at least some cells for running flow. I don't know, these technical issues maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyone would like to answer, Dr. Nishit? Yes, Dr. Himanti, you are asking about translocation 1, 2. So this is second most translocation in your ALCL. Second most. First is your 2, 5. So again, 2 is your ALK and 1 is your TPM3 gene. Yes. So what I was trying to describe you is, if you use ALK antibody, on the pattern of the staining of this ALK antibody, we can guess the translocation. We can guess. So if it is only nuclear or nucleolus also positive and membrane also positive, it is taking up all the three: nucleus also, nucleolus also, and membrane also. Then probably we are looking at classical 2-5. And if it is nucleus is absent, if you are looking at the membrane and cytoplasm positivity, then probably it is translocation 1-2. If it is not nucleolar or nucleus is absent, but it is membrane or cytoplasm positive, then probably it is translocation 1-2. So only using ALK antibody we can guess the type of translocation, because these specific patterns of staining are different. Yes. But at least lymphocyte rich. So yes, infectious mononucleosis can show you RS-like cells. Yes, definitely. They can show you inflammatory background. Yes. So see, you have to be careful. You cannot diagnose the patient in isolation. See, if I'm looking at a child who is running a fever for 7 days, and if he has a small cervical lymph node, this is one scenario. And if I'm looking at a child who is sick, who is having multiple abdominal lymphadenopathy or diaphragmatic lymphadenopathy and multiple cervical lymphadenopathy, okay, so he is having probably a systemic disorder, and this is probably an infectious disorder. So I'm just telling you, it starts from the beginning. What is the scenario the patient is presenting you with? I'm not telling you hard and fast ki bhai this is this only. No. See, if you are looking at, see, Hodgkin's is a systemic disease, so you have to take into consideration your systemic symptoms. You have to ask the patient the B symptoms, whether he's having weight loss, whether he's having night sweats, okay, and whether, if you are still having doubt, advise him abdominal CT scan. If he's having diaphragmatic lymphadenopathy, abdominal lymphadenopathy, inguinal lymphadenopathy, then yes, I'm looking at probably Hodgkin's. This is another hint. And definitely lymph node. When you come back to the lymph node, yes, your infectious mononucleosis can cause RS-like cells. Yes, background can be same, but the process starts from the beginning. If I'm strongly suspecting Hodgkin's, and if I'm looking at RS-like cells, then I will definitely go ahead and put up ISC for PAX5 or a CD15 or a CD30. So you cannot diagnose the patient on isolation. It is not like a challenge. We have given you a lymph node and you have to tell whether this is infectious mononucleosis or this is Hodgkin's. No, it is never like that. Problem in our country is our approach is wrong. We look at the slides in isolation. We don't have patient history. We don't have B symptoms. We have not even seen how many lymph nodes the patient is having. So in that case, we will err. If we are overconfident, we will diagnose this RS-like cell as Hodgkin's. And if you are not doing ISC, then you will miss Hodgkin's. So it is like that. And of course, remember, certain lymphomas will be present more in your sinusoids. Like I told, NLPHL, they can come in sinusoids, outside your follicles. So if you are not careful, if you are not taking into consideration the patient history, then you will miss it. You will probably miss it for some reactive process. So it is like that. You have to take into consideration, and if you are strongly suspecting, you have to do IHC. You have to do IHC. In children, in children, in children, you have to be very, very careful. If you are seeing any large cells is any cluster in your near your sinusoids or outside your follicles, any large cell, then be alarmed. Be alarmed, because this ALCL and all that, they can land you in soup. They can also present in sinuses. So any large cell in a child, don't ignore. Always recommend IHC. Always recommend IHC. Yes, Dr. Lopa, I think I have answered your question, or do you have still more doubts? Yes, anyone has any more doubts? I am expecting some basic doubts because this is my class. Yes. Anyone have any doubts about RS cells?
So what is the difference between follicular T helper cell and follicular dendritic cell?
Yes, yes. So follicular T helper cells. So they are T cells which are residing inside the follicle. So dendritic cell is a framework. Dendritic cell is a framework. It is a meshwork which is supporting your lymph node arc. See, lymph node is a 3D structure. It is not hanging in air. So these dendritic cells form a meshwork and giving you a background support. Okay. So that is our dendritic cell. Follicular T cells, they are residing inside the house. So dendritic cell is your framework of your house. But your members or your family members are your T cells, T helper cells, which are residing inside. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yes. So dendritic is the same framework. So that is why I told you in case of nodular lymphocyte, nodular, your NLPHL, you can use dendritic cell markers. But this follicular T helper cell profile is very, very important. Because if you want to diagnose angioimmunoblastic, you have to document your follicular T helper cell profile. Those 6 markers you have to remember. Don't say that, sir, Akshay Bali taught CD10 positive, BCL6 positive, also in B cell also and in T cell also. So you are thoroughly confused. No, it is not like that. So I told you CD10 and BCL6. They are your follicular markers. Follicular markers. So anything inside the follicle will be positive. Okay. That is why your CD10 and BCL6 is positive in your follicular lymphoma or your DLBCL. Okay. So anything inside the follicle will have a certain prototype. So these are follicular T helper cells. They can have CD10 positivity, they can have BCL6 positivity, and then 4 special things. ICOS, PD1, CXCL13, and CCR5. So this whole profile you have to remember. And at least 2 out of these 6, if they are positive, then we are looking at a case of angioimmunoblastic.
Can you repeat profile, sir?
What?
Last, the profile you told now in the last.
Yeah. See, profile goes, there are some 7 to 8, but you remember 6. BCL6, ICOS, PD1, okay, CXCL13, CXCR5. There are also some SAP, CD200, the list goes on. Okay, so but at least remember these 6. Yes. And in this also, ICOS PD1, CXCL13 are very specific and sensitive. ICOS CXCL13. Some books only write CXCL13 and ICOS positive. They don't even tell you that it's follicular helper cell profile. They will tell you, they'll straight away write that angioimmunoblastic lymphomas are positive for CXCL13 and ICOS. So they are that specific. And CXCL13 is important because it's a cytokine which will recruit your B cells and will convert your B cells into your plasma cells. It is very important for your B cell maturation. If you remember the diagram, first thing, it is a full house. Angioimmunoblastic is a full house. You name the cell and it will be there. So the center will be this cell. So CXCL13 is stimulating your B cell. CD40 is stimulating your mast cells. Then your angiopoietin is stimulating your venules. IL-5 is stimulating your eosinophil. So this is a master cell which is going and stimulating and recruiting all this. So it's a full house.
So how to differentiate between NLPHL and reactive lymph node?
Sorry. NLPHL. Versus reactive. Okay. First, again, you're right. Both can have nodular architecture. Sometimes even follicles are also seen in this. Yes, you are right. So you tell me, how will you approach?
So there will be presence of popcorn RSLs in NLPHL.
Okay, you might get some reactive cells which are looking like sort of popcorn cells. So next step.
Rosette, sir.
Yeah. So first you have to document that those large B cells, what you are looking at, they should be 20 positive. Okay, and they are surrounded. They are always surrounded by your peculiar T cells, which have a profile of 4+, 57+, and PDL1+. Dendritic will not help you because they can be positive in reactive also. But this should be CD20 positive, and morphology you are suspecting. And the milieu, this is the background. It has to be there. This has to be there. And of course, if you have more markers, then you do OCT2, BOB1, PU. You can do nuclear transcription factors. Apart from CD20, nuclear transcription factor for B cells, OCT2, BOB1, they are nuclear positivity. So they are easy to interpret. Any ISC marker which is transcription factor and nuclear is very easy to interpret. So you are suspecting they are CD20 positive, do seeing background, confirm with OCT2, BOB1, and probably you are looking at nodular. Your question was nice because reactive, why? Because NLPHL are indolent. They are indolent. They present a single lymph node in neck. Your question was very nice because reactive lymph node also single, indolent, neck. So be very careful. Yes. Any other doubts? And I forgot to mention in detail that So your breast implants, there are 4,50,000 breast implants happening in America every year. You might be thinking, sir is mad. He is teaching us breast implant associated ALCL. No, I'm not mad. It is that common nowadays. 4,50,000 breast implants every year in America. Every year. So they can be due to cosmetic reasons or breast carcinoma patient having reconstructive surgery. Because she wants to reconstruct her breast, so breast implant was put. So 2 reasons. So usually made of silicone. So initial presentation, this breast implant will start showing some effusion. If this is your implant and this is your skin, then this area will start developing effusion. If they do an ultrasound, they will find some fluid in the cavity lining between your implant and your skin. So that is the first sign. You'll start getting effusion. And if the silicone, sometimes this silicone ruptures also. So this silicone material will go to your draining axillary lymph nodes. So any foreign material, your axillary lymph node will swell up. So that does not necessarily mean that patient has developed ALCL and he has developed metastasis. No. Silicone is a very reactive material. It will go to your draining axillary lymph nodes, and your axillary lymph nodes, sensing any foreign material, they will swell up. Yes. And then this implant will form a membrane outside it. Due to chronic irritation, there will be a membrane outside this implant. First there will be effusion, then there will be a membrane. So what they will do is capsulectomy. They will remove this capsule. And they will examine it. And when they look at the membrane of this capsule, and near the membrane, they will find those large ALCL looking like cells. Large ALCL looking like pink cells, which are having your embryo form or your horseshoe shaped nucleus, and they do CD30 and they are positive. That's how they usually diagnose. They do capsulectomy, and if they are suspecting there's large cells near the membrane, then they do CD30, and if there's Golgi accentuation, then they label this a case of as ALCL, which is implant related. They are ALK negative. This is implant related, breast implant related. But they have a good prognosis. And usually capsulectomy will suffice. Though they are ALCL, but they have a good prognosis. Like your cutaneous ALCL. See, cutaneous ALCL looks very dangerous. Patient has developed anaplastic large cell lymphoma. If you tell the patient, he will die of the diagnosis itself. No, but if it is a primary cutaneous ALCL, it has a very good prognosis. Similarly, breast implant associated ALCL also has a good prognosis. And usually capsulectomy will suffice. So 2 ALCL which have a good prognosis. One is primary cutaneous ALCL, and second is breast implant associated ALCL. Good prognosis. But for calling it cutaneous, you have to document the history. You have to look at the patient, look at the imaging finding. He should not have any primary lymphadenopathy, only skin manifestation. Okay. Yes. So don't think that implants are not done. They are now increasing now. Yes. Any more doubts? And for the juniors, if you are listening, Get that thing out of your mind that ALCL will be only ALK positive. Get that thing out of your mind. They can be ALK negative. So remember CD30. CD30 is more important, and Golgi body accentuation is more important than ALK. So you might say, sir, CD30 also will come in your CD30 positive DLBCL. Yes, CD30 can come in your CD30 positive DLBCL, but it will not show you Golgi body accentuation. And remember the first case which I told you, angioimmunoblastic, elderly individual, they can come with non-specific complaints. They can have polyclonal gammopathy. They can have plasma cells in peripheral blood, in bone marrow. Yes, they can have everything. But if you do serum electrophoresis, these are usually polyclonal. They are polyclonal. They can have hemolytic anemias. Yes, any more doubts?
Sir,
Yes.
sir, how to differentiate lymphoma spillover from leukemia?
See, this problem comes in your lymphoblast. If you are looking at TALL versus TALL versus T plasmablastic lymphoma. Okay. See, if the bone marrow shows you more than 25% of blast, then we label the patient as TALL. If it is anything less than 25%, then we will label the patient as T-cell plasmablastic lymphoma. So that is one point. That is one point. But if you are looking at a case of suppose ALCL, which has gone to the bone marrow, then he is already stage 4. He's already stage 4. It started from the lymph nodes and it has spread to the bone marrow. Then from the bone marrow, it can come into your peripheral smear or peripheral blood or whatever you want. Okay. So if your nodal lymphoma has gone to your bone marrow, then already stage 4. We are not bothered about your peripheral blood or your peripheral smear. We are more important about bone marrow, because bone marrow is the factory. If it goes to the bone marrow, then it is a problem for the patient. His anemia will fall, his platelets will fall, he'll start downgrading. But for TALL and that, you have to remember criteria. Like your SLL and CLL, same thing. More than 5,000 polyclonal cells, you will call it CLL. Anything less than 5,000 polyclonal cells, but if it is involving the lymph node, then you will call it SLL. And always remember CD3. CD3, WHO says, is a lineage marker for T cells. Lineage marker for T cells. So any panel starts with CD3 and CD20. Any panel starts with CD3 and CD20 because you do not want to miss out T cell lymphomas. Yes, Dr. Alok Pandey, Dr. Neeti, Dr. Geetika. Any more doubts? I have still 5 more minutes. Your homework, you have to read about lymphomatoid papulosis, LCP. That is also a cutaneous type of T cell. It also shows epidermotropism. You have to read it in detail. Yes, so no more doubts. Shall I terminate? Okay,
Sir.
thank you. Yeah, tell me. Tell me.
Sir, this mycosis fungoids and in Sézary syndrome, both are cutaneous involvement, right, sir? Only markers will help to differentiate, sir.
Mycosis fungoides is cutaneous, yes. What is the next? Yeah.
Sézary syndrome.
Sézary.
Yeah, Sézary. Both are cutaneous.
Yeah, see, Sézary means your mycosis fungoides cells are now becoming systemic.
Okay, sir.
They are now become systemic. They are in your peripheral blood. They are in your bone marrow. So that is why I told no, in peripheral blood or bone marrow, more than 1,000 Sézary cells per microliter.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, so they are no longer confined to your epidermis. Now they have gone everywhere.
Okay, then these mycosis fungoids will be similar to that of cutaneous lymphoma, primary cutaneous lymphoma.
Yes.
But it will be positive, ALK positive will be there in them.
Yes. So mycosis fungoid is more important in negative markers. CD7. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And string of pearls.
String of pearls.
Yes.
Okay.
And classically book description, cerebriform nucleus.
Okay.
Yes. And always remember the stage: papule, plaque, and nodule.
Okay.
And nodule phase, you will lose your epidermotropism. So don't mistake, sir. This case is not showing epidermotropism. This is not mycosis fungoides. If clinician is suspecting mycosis fungoides, and if you are looking at nodular phase, then if you are not careful, you might miss it.
Okay, sir.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.